No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. And for all of those joining us live anywhere on the internet, welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. I am tonight's host, Dave Minuk, joined by my main man, Ezzy Ginsburg.
What up?
And we are here to discuss the Jets' pre-Christmas schedule as finally coming to a conclusion with tonight's 4-1 loss to the Washington Capitals. It seemed like the 700 games that's both played and lost to injury suffered by the Jets in the span of 3 weeks is now going to take a little bit of a break simply because the Jets and the rest of the team will be on Christmas holidays until I think Tuesday when they're back in town and they play the Minnesota Wild. So welcome, Ezzy, and let's get into it. What did you think of the game overall?
Yeah, obviously, both teams' second game of a back-to-back, right? Like, so you're not going to use that as an excuse ever, but especially when the Caps were in Ottawa last night and won in overtime. Yeah. So obviously not a far trip, Dave, going from Ottawa to Washington, but regardless, they played last night, right? And yeah, I mean, it's almost like, some of the members of the Jets were on winter vacation, in the first couple periods, because it really wasn't until Kevin Stenlund scored that goal. Yeah. And the Jets finally woke up and they made a push, right? Like Josh Morrissey, he was looking to extend his point streak. Unfortunate that it doesn't happen, right, Dave? But I mean, 11 games is pretty ridiculous, right? Because of course he extended it yesterday against the loss against Boston, right? So
doesn't quite get to that Phil Housley mark of 14, has he?
That's incredible. And he's in some pretty good company there with Housley, one of the best American defensemen of all time, right? So I mean, that's something that you don't like, but you didn't really know what to expect. At least I didn't know what to expect heading into this game, right? Dave's second game of a back-to-back. Mm-hmm. And also just with Cole Perfetti being out of the lineup when you already have so many players on the Jets out of the lineup, right? Yeah. And they made a nice push in the third, but I mean there just wasn't enough offense created. And some of the best offensive chances came on the penalty kill, right? When Neil Pionk, nobody covered him when the Jets were killing the penalty, and then he gave it back to Adam Lowry. And give Charlie Lindgren credit, right? Like,
yes, he was excellent.
He was really good. And we talked about, former teammate of Michael Esimont, can't call him Mikey anymore, Dave, with St. Cloud State, right? But Lindgren's a guy who, has battled, come up through the AHL, and now with an injury to Darcy Kemper, Lindgren's their number one goalie. And this Capitals team, Dave, like, we'll get into a little bit later. We'll focus on the Jets here, but the Capitals are in a wild card spot right now. Right. Islanders are the team that's chasing them. And I believe the Islanders, last time I checked, the Islanders were leading. So, I mean, this was a pretty important game for the Capitals, right? Like, you're happy that you got the 2 points against the Senators, but, they're not as comfortably in a playoff spot as the Jets are, right? Jets being second in the Central Division. We all know that they've built themselves up a nice cushion. So as far as the game goes, I mean, there just wasn't a lot of energy and just not enough offense, right? Like Mark Scheifele had that great chance in the first period. Remember, Charlie Lindgren made the glove save. And as you know, Dave, got to mention this, love the catching with the right hand, right? Like you just don't see that a lot in the NHL. I always, bring up the Grant Fewers and the Tommy Barrassos. Michael Hutchinson also actually caught with his right hand, but just love the way it looks. I don't know what the word is, just aesthetically, I guess. I just love goalies that catch with the right hand. But Kevin Stenlund had a nice game. I mean, Neil Pionk really struggled out there. He was on the ice for 3 of the goals. Obviously, the empty net goal notwithstanding. So I thought Pionk struggled. Pierre-Luc Dubois was obviously getting into it with some of the Capitals players, namely Garnett Hathaway. I thought he was good, but sometimes, Dave, you just don't have a lot to start in the tank. Yeah. And the Jets really used all of their gas in that third period. So, I mean, give, David Riddick, I thought he really did a nice job of keeping that game low scoring. But yeah, there weren't enough players on this night driving the offense. There just wasn't enough offense created for the most part of this game, with maybe the exception of 5 or 6 minutes in the third.
Well, and you know what, as we got to talk about the news that came out before the game even got started, which of course was the injury to Cole Perfetti. Nobody really anticipated that because it happened very late in the third period in Boston with only about 3 minutes to go in that game where he, I think it was Actually, I don't remember which Bruins player hit him, but hit him pretty hard in the shoulder.
Jake DeBrusk, Dave.
Was it Jake DeBrusk? Okay,
Yeah.
so it was Jake DeBrusk who hit him in the, as he was kind of making a play towards the net, and he left the game, and we didn't know at the time because again it was somewhat late in the game, and you're trying to watch whether the Jets pushing for the equalizer, and sure enough, Perfetti doesn't play the last little bit, and then today Scott Arniel, the associate coach of the Winnipeg Jets, says that Perfetti is out for tonight's game, and he's going to be evaluated in Winnipeg. And of course, when you see that injury to Cole Perfetti, and we're not going to pretend like we're doctors here, but it does make you think of the hit by Oleksiak when in the Seattle game last year, which cost Perfetti, a lot of time last season. So you hope that it's not as bad as whatever happened to him last year. But you don't know. And you just think, he was able to shake it off a little bit. So you're hoping that that's nothing significant for the Jets rookie, who's had a really good rookie season, 6 goals, 14 assists in 32 games for Winnipeg. But, another tough injury. And that's been the story of December. The Jets have persevered. And so sure, the Jets have lost 3 of their last 4 games. It has been a tough stretch for the Winnipeg Jets. But you're looking at a team that's dealing with 7 injured players. And, whether you've got a defense out, you've got a ton of your forwards out. It's a reality. We're not here to make excuses. If the Jets don't play a good game with their full lineup, we criticize them. But, you do understand when the Jets have a number of the Manitoba Moose in the lineup, how it is it's a different hockey team. And look, the reality is I actually don't think the composition of the lineup is as significant as the scheduling. I actually think the scheduling is harder because look, the Jets had this lineup with Perfetti, they beat Ottawa 5-1. So was anybody saying, well, the Jets only have AHL guys in the lineup when they beat Ottawa 5-1? They almost beat the Bruins.
Well, one of those AHL guys was the goal scorer tonight in Kevin Stenlund, right? And Mikey Esimont, Michael, I got to stop saying Mikey, was moved up, right, in the lineup. He of course was a healthy scratch for, what was it, 3 games, Dave, or 4 games? And then 4. He went into the lineup and he was elevated in the lineup, mainly because of the injuries the Jets have in the top 6. And you're absolutely right. There are other teams, and we've talked about it, especially on the Saturday show, but throughout the season now, right? Colorado, Vegas. There's other teams that are dealing with injuries. The Jets are right up there now, and they're going to get healthy. And that's what's so unfortunate. And we don't know, as you mentioned, Dave, like Perfetti might be fine for the game next week against the Wild. We just don't know. He could end up being out for a few weeks, few months. It's all speculation at this point. It's just so unfortunate because, Ehlers is out, Wheeler's out, Nate Schmidt's out. Like, these are key players. These are not just spare parts. Mason Appleton, you got to throw him in there. He was a staple on the third line. We talked about it. He was starting, the overtime period. So you can say whatever you want about Mason Appleton, but he was a regular in the lineup. And as you mentioned, 7 regulars are out right now. So this was just, I think, a lot of factors, led to the Jets' performance. You don't like to see, Dave, the Jets didn't get a shot again. I think it was, at the 8-minute mark or the 9-minute mark. And then again, in the second period, they came out flat. I believe they only had 3 shots in that entire period, right? Yeah. So, and one of those was the shorthanded chance by Adam Lowry, right? Right. So, and the incredible save by Lindgren. So you could look at this game, but it's the last game and you can say whatever you want. And we've been doing the show for 13 and a half years. These guys are already thinking about their holidays and they're not going to use that as an excuse, but second a game of a back-to-back on the road, like these guys want to catch their flights and go home or, go to Hawaii or go to Mexico or wherever they're going to go. So, this was just a game in which the Jets just didn't have enough left in the tank.
Well, I hope they're not trying to fly to Toronto or Vancouver or a lot of the American cities.
Vancouver's a nightmare right now. They're not used to snow. That's the thing. We're used to snow every year. And
they're having Snowmageddon Snowmageddon as right now in Toronto, which probably means they're getting like 3 inches. And Vancouver is probably somewhat similar. And Calgary had like the Arctic chill up and it went all the way to. In fact, Manitoba, even though it was cold as everything,
something yesterday, that rhymes with calls.
Yes, exactly. But the funny part is Manitoba is the only province or territory that wasn't under some sort of weather advisory yesterday. So way to go, Manitoba.
And it wasn't nice yesterday.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Pretty cold. What was it? -25. So it's funny. Minus 25 in Winnipeg is like normal, right? And when you get a lot of snow, like you mentioned, like 30 centimeters of snow, we had that 10 times last year. So obviously, we hope everybody's able to, get to their destination and everything like that. But yeah, it's definitely not fun traveling these days in certain parts of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And so look, it's a tough way for the Jets to end. As I said, three losses of their last 4 games. But ultimately, as what you do is you think to yourself, they have banked enough points to be comfortably in a playoff spot right now. They'll have a few days now to rest, recover, whether it's here or on a beach somewhere. And then ultimately they come back and we'll find out. Look, we know that the crazy thing for this lineup is it's not as if relief is coming anytime soon, based on the fact that we know that even though Manalainen and Ehlers were on the trip, they're still a couple of weeks away. So you know that even though, 3-4 days from now, you're still not getting those guys back. You're still not getting kind of that first run of guys. So realistically, you're thinking sometime mid-January, maybe first week of January, but most likely that mid part of January, before you really get some guys back. And that has some people thinking, do the Jets need to make a move right now? I think they've banked enough points that they see how they do against, what is it? It's Minnesota, Vancouver, Edmonton next week, isn't it? So I think you have a kind of an easy, not an easy.
I know they play Minnesota on the 27th.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Minnesota. It is.
Yeah.
No, it is, because it's Minnesota, and then Sam Gagne's 1000th game. I can't say it properly. Would be against Vancouver, and then the last game of the year is that New Year's Eve game against the Edmonton Oilers, which is a 9:00 start. So join us.
One anthem games coming up.
Yes, but join us at after being at the Moose game with me that afternoon, and then I'll run to my parents and maybe have a steak dinner, and then I'm going to be doing the Illegal Curve post game show next.
What's your cut, Dave, for steak?
Rib steak.
Ribeye?
Yeah, rib steak. Come on.
Yeah, rib steak is the best.
Yeah, that's the way we roll at the Maduke household. So
like I know like T-Bone is another one that
T-Bone.
Like. I think T-Bone's a better nickname than a steak.
I was gonna say, isn't T-Bone your nickname, Ezzy?
No, maybe E-Bone. But T-Bone is a classic nickname. But yeah, steak. I like that. Steak's always good. Steak's never a bad decision.
That is true. Well, it's also never a bad decision getting into the Betway game post-game show recap. And that's brought to you, not surprisingly, by Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Ezzy, please play responsibly.
Always.
Okay, well, let's get into it. The score was opened by the Washington Capitals because the Jets just didn't have anything going in the first. I think I chronicled this on the old Twitter machine. The Jets didn't have a shot in the first 9 minutes of the game. I mean, it's pretty remarkable to not actually get a shot on goal. And sure enough, the first goal, not a great goal either. And David Rittich had made some nice saves in that first period, I thought, but he gives up 8-0-1 to Alex Ovechkin. It's a nice shot by Ovechkin, but it's far enough away. Brendan Dillon's stick may have gotten, I don't know if it interfered in some way with Rittich and his view of the shot. But how did you see that goal that opened the scoring and gave Washington a 1-0 lead?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that turned out to be the biggest story. Ovechkin passing Gordie Howe, and now there's only, we know which guys left to pass. Wanted to mention too, Dave, after Scheifele took that hooking penalty early in the first period, that was a really good penalty kill, and we know that Ovechkin is who they're going to go for, who they're going to try to get the puck to, right, on the power play. So I just wanted to mention that. I thought even though the Jets really they were flat, let's be honest, and they didn't have a lot going offensively, I did like the penalty kill early in the first period after Scheifele took that hooking penalty. A rare night where Scheifele takes a couple penalties. We'll get into the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty later, but I'm sure, that penalty is the type of one that drives Rick Bowness and the coaching staff crazy, right? But yeah, I mean, it starts with a turnover, right? Neil Pionk turns over the puck in the neutral zone. Erik Gustafsson ends up getting it up to Ovechkin, and then Ovechkin just plays a little bit of give and go with was it Dowd or no? Who was it? It was, I forget who he gave the puck to, and then it was dropped to Ovechkin. Was it Dowd, Dave? I forget, but it was Erik Gustafsson that got the puck up.
Sorry, Ezzy, I was muted. I didn't realize it was Strome.
Pardon me, Dylan Strome. Yeah, that's his line mate. Dowd's a fourth liner. He got a goal later in the game, but yeah, so just a nice outlet pass by Gustafsson to Ovechkin, crosses the line, gives it to Dylan Strome and then gets it back to Ovechkin. I just thought Brendan Dillon gave him a little bit too much room there, but Neil Pionk was out of position, and it was just a bad turnover in the neutral zone. And we've seen Ovechkin, shoot the puck like that so many times. And obviously David Rittich wasn't happy with that shot just based on, how far out it was. But Ovechkin's got a great release, and, you're not going to blame that on Rittich. Just as I mentioned before, I just thought Pionk had a rough game. And you know what? It's easy for me to say that. This is, the fifth game in 7 days.
Yep.
But we mentioned earlier, he was on the ice. Dylan and Pionk are very reliable. That's not in question. Just wasn't, a great game for them, individually, even though you could tell Pionk was trying to create offensively in that third period and in the later stages of the game. But in that particular case, just bad turnover and a nice little give and go between Strome and Ovechkin, even though I forgot that it was Strome, thought it was Dowd. But Ovechkin, got the ball rolling with 8:01.
Yeah. And look, I think what it comes down to is it was readily apparent to those of us watching the game, which is everybody in the chat and you and I here on the show, as that the Jets just didn't. I mean, look, as you said to start the show, the Capitals, they played last night in Ottawa. So both teams had to travel. Both Ottawa, in fact, their game went to overtime. So, the Jets played a heavy game against Boston. I would imagine Ottawa didn't give the Capitals that same sort of difficulty, even though the game went to overtime. But the reality was that the Jets just didn't have it. And when you don't have a shot through 9 minutes of a game, I mean, that's just not a good sign. When you don't possess the puck, and the advanced stats weren't, terrible. I think in the first period, I don't remember exactly what the high danger chances for and against were. I know at one point it was only like 7-4 in favor of Washington.
The possession was definitely all Washington.
Oh yeah,
for the majority of the game, but especially in the first couple periods.
And the Jets just didn't seem to have a lot of, whether, I don't want to use the word chemistry, but they just didn't seem to have it. There wasn't a lot of flow, I didn't think, to their game. I didn't think the passing was great. I just thought a lot of guys were standing around. They looked aimless, and it just didn't seem like they had it tonight, from at least in the first period. And you thought, okay. And, it's like, we always joke, right? We always say, what is the excuse going to be? Is it that you're really tired in the first period, and then you kind of you get rid of the lactic acid in your legs, and then you're ready to go finally later in the second and for the third period? Or is it you still have a little rest left in the tank in the first period, and then it dies off in the second and third? The narrative fits whichever way the game ends up. But the Jets, to me, in my mind's eye, watching that game, as just didn't have it going on in the first period. And they really, like I said, didn't get much. And, the things they did get on Lindgren, he made some great saves. I thought he really did make some nice stops. And you're right, that the Lowry shorthanded opportunity was a perfect example of where the Jets could have gotten back into the game, and he shut the door.
Yeah, absolutely. That was in the second period. And we mentioned, Scheifele had a point blank chance in the first period. And it was a really good save by Lindgren. Pierre-Luc Dubois had a chance in the first period, I remember, but there weren't a lot. And there weren't a lot in the second period either. We talked about it, 3 or 4 shots for the Jets in the second period. So, I mean, the Jets were lucky that the Capitals were only up 1-0 after one period, right? Like, Rittich was really solid. And, again, we'll get into the next goal. It doesn't end up being a power play goal. But Dylan DeMello didn't like the penalty at all. And, it's understandable. But it was just a few seconds after Dylan DeMello came out of the penalty box. But again, I mean, this was one of those games. It wasn't a high event game. The Capitals were definitely the better team, but there's no doubt that, the Jets didn't have enough, whatever you want to call it, energy, enough, whatever word you want to use. But you want to get into the next goal? No?
Sure. Get onto that goal, which, by the way, speaking of the next goal that anyone could have had this player. He was available, Sonny Milano. And I believe, Ezzy, I want to give you credit, because I was thinking about this.
I was tweeting about it. I was pushing. Well,
I was going to say, I want to give you credit.
The knock on Milano has always been, like, he was a first round pick, right? Or was he a first round pick or a second round pick? The knock on him has always been, he can be streaky. Yeah. I think he's up to 16 points in 24 games or something like that. I saw Scotty Billick posted it on Twitter. So that's been the knock on him, and that he's not the best defensive player. But you look at him, he racks up points. And you got to give the Jets credit. Like, Axel Jonsson-Fjallby and Carson Kuhlman are guys that you're not expecting a lot of offense out of, even though Jonsson-Fjallby got an assist on the Stenlund goal. But, I mean, these are guys that, are third, all due respect, third or fourth line guys that if you elevate them to a first or second line role, like Kuhlman has, I mean, Kuhlman can handle himself. There's no doubt. Like, We'll get into that. Kuhlman is a really good player. He's obviously a favorite of our show too. If you've been following, we've had him on several times. But I mean, Kuhlman's not going to give you the same offense as Sonny Milano. So yeah, it's a good pickup by the Capitals, and it costs you nothing, right?
Yeah, he was a 2014 first rounder by Columbus, and look, it's just another one of those plays. The power play had just ended against Dylan DeMello, and sure enough, Milano at the side of the net, unobstructed, and hard on Rittich to make the save, and everybody is loaded up on the right side because they're trying to prevent Ovechkin from getting his 802. So they're working hard on that. And yeah, Milano just is able to collect that loose puck and put it into the side of the net and give the Caps a 2-0 lead. And at that point, you're starting to think, okay, do the Jets even have it? Because I think, again, they had 3 shots in that second period. So you think you didn't have a great first period, but maybe you're ready to go in the second. And now you're having a second period that, okay, you've only had 3 shots. And again, like you said, Ezzy, the best shot of the game for the Jets probably was that Adam Lowry chance, shorthanded. So, and it's amazing. It just goes to show you what a game of inches hockey can sometimes be, because Lindgren makes a phenomenal save, but if he doesn't, it's a tie game, and instead they don't, and the Capitals come back and make it a 2-0 game.
Yeah, and the penalty kill we've talked about quite a bit all year long. Adam Lowry always leads the boys, right? And he's always a threat to score on the penalty kill. But again, it was really good tonight, and we know how good the Capitals' power play is, and Ovechkin's been doing it for almost 20 years now, right? Yeah. So you're absolutely right. I'd like to see Dave, and it's easy again for me to say, but I'd like to see Pionk shoot that puck, even though it was very deceptive because he went back to Lowry, and you were expecting Pionk to shoot the puck, right? So it was just a great pad save by Lindgren. But there's no doubt that, it wasn't until kind of midway through, I think the goal was scored midway through, but it was only, a few shifts before that the Jets really started to come along, and it was from an unlikely source. But Kevin Stenlund was really good tonight. We talked about the penalty kill. He's been really good. He was actually getting second power play unit time tonight as well. So, I mean, Stenlund's a guy that you expect to eventually go back down to the Moose, Dave, but I think, he's put, Bonus and Arneal and the coaching staff kind of on high alert in terms of what he's doing. Because I think, in a game in which you weren't very good, Stenlund's play stands out, not just the goal, right? And I think that's what you want to do, if you're a guy that, you didn't think was really going to play significant minutes and significant games for the Jets. And here we are with the Jets having 7 or 8 guys out of the lineup, and Kevin Stenlund is playing a key role for them.
Maybe he's got the advantage of looking like Blake Wheeler, and so people think that Blake Wheeler is in the lineup when in fact he is not in the lineup, Ezzy, along with the laundry list of skating wounded, as we've deemed it here on Illegal Curve. And if you're wondering what that list looks like and timelines, we've got it on a little website called illegalcurve.com. So you can go on there and get the list of all the players who are out with injury, which I guess I'll have to amend to include Cole Perfetti, unfortunately, for the Winnipeg Jets. And again, we'll find out more when the Jets are back in action next Tuesday, and we'll be back in action next Tuesday. Of course, reminder, no Illegal Curve hockey show on Saturday morning. Ezzy and Drew, they twisted my arm. I wanted to do a show tomorrow, but both guys said no. So I didn't want to force people to deal with the Dave Minuk experience. So I said, okay, fine, no Saturday show. We'll come back. We'll take a little break. We'll get some R&R, and we'll be ready to go next Tuesday.
You got to take Christmas Eve off, right? And also the 7th night of Hanukkah.
Christmas Eve isn't until the nighttime, Ezzy. So I mean, realistically, there's really no excuse. Just saying.
I think it's Christmas Eve the whole day.
Doesn't make any sense though. Eve would be at night.
I don't think it's Christmas. No, Christmas Eve is also the day before. The night before.
I don't think so. I mean, we're both two Jews.
On the calendar, it says
2 Jews arguing about this, so maybe it's probably not the best people to be arguing about it.
Happy 6th night. That's what I was going to say.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. So, I lit the candles, had a little nice thing going at the house. But hey, well, we can ask the chat if the people in the chat want to tell us, when does Christmas Eve? That should be the poll question. When does Christmas Eve start? Does it start in the morning?
Mindell a month ago or some month and a half ago, started off with a show asking me, I forget which game it was. It was a 2:00 start, and he asked me if I thought 4:45 was the afternoon or evening. I was like, what are you talking about? Like 5:45. I get some people consider.
I remember that show. Yes.
5:30 or whatever, but it's 6:00 is evening, and that's just that's literally the definition of nighttime is
As
6 o'clock.
you got to give Drew you got to give him a little bit of slack. He is 75 years old and he gets a little bit tired. And 5 o'clock is usually past his dinner time.
He's living
6
that
o'clock
Palm Springs lifestyle where
by the way,
you make your reservation for dinner at 3:30 in the afternoon.
I got some backing up here, Ezzy. I don't want to run you right now, but Kenny's water bottle giving it to me, saying it's the evening.
Okay,
Doug Thorsky,
fine.
5 p.m.
No.
Hold on. I like this one. Xmas starts when Ezra gets stuck in the chimney.
That's
a good one. Rory starts at 6 p.m. The Power.
Okay, I understand.
Christmas Eve starts when the first bottle is opened, which for Ezzy would probably be in the morning.
Yeah, I like that TJPP Power. I understand that the actual like ceremony, like, you go to church at night, stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people still refer to the entire day, December 24th, as Christmas Eve.
Hold on. No surprise who's backing you up, Ezzy. You ready for this? Hold on.
I think it's Spencer. There we go.
Eve isn't short for evening. It can refer to the whole day before.
That's what I'm talking about. Before, like, okay, for example, if we were talking, if let's pretend this is October and you were saying, I'm going to go on a trip on December 24th, you would say, I'm going on a trip on Christmas Eve. You wouldn't say, I'm going on a trip the day before Christmas.
I wouldn't, because that's usually not my reference point.
Fair enough.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's
December 24th is Christmas Eve. Yes, it's in the evening. I get that. Let's just move on. You're right.
No, I'm actually, it's funny. I was kind of going towards your side of things until Kenny's water bottle backed me up. And then I felt drunk with power, but you know what? Well, let's get back into it. So the third period starts, and 3:49 into that third period, Nick Dowd, who you spoke about earlier, he scores his 8th goal of the year from Hathaway, who, by the way, as much as Pierre-Luc Dubois likes to mix it up, the guy who took on Dustin Byfuglien, don't mix it up with that guy. He is tougher than anybody on the Jets. I don't care. Adam Lowry's a tough guy. Hathaway is insanely tough.
He is absolutely insanely
and he can score.
Tough. He can score. I'll say this much though: Pierre-Luc Dubois. How many fights has Pierre-Luc Dubois had in his NHL career? He's had a few, I believe. Not as many as Garnett Hathaway. I'll throw out a guess, Dave. How about you check out Pierre-Luc Dubois' career fights? I'm going to give you a guess. I'm going to say he's had half a dozen career fights in the NHL. I bet I'm pretty close, but the fact of the matter is, if I can speak here, Garnett Hathaway is more of a established fighter. But I will say this much: Dubois can handle his own. Like, you hear Kevin Sawyer talk about it on the broadcast all the time. Like, this is a big man, 6'2", whatever he weighs now, 210, 220. Only two.
Yeah. 2 in the NHL, 2 in the QMJHL.
Okay. I said 6, so that wasn't that bad of a guess.
Yeah, but you were thinking 6 in the NHL, just to be clear. Ezzy.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah, I wasn't talking about, I don't know how many times guys fight in the QMJHL. I'm not that hardcore, but a couple fights. But the point is, like, he can handle himself. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Hathaway, and we talked about it earlier. The Capitals, like, Ovechkin was not liking Kyle. I don't know. He thought Kyle Connor slashed him that bad. I didn't think it was that bad. But even when the play went back into the Capital zone, Dave, Ovechkin and Connor were chirping at each other. So you love to see that, right? I'm not sure. Maybe they were just talking about where they're going on their Christmas holidays, but I think it had more to do with Connor coming up and breaking up that scoring chance for Ovechkin. But back to the Dowd goal. I mean, that was again another turnover, right? And that was just a nice kind of little give and go again. But it was Carson Kuhlman, if I'm not mistaken, Dave, who turned the puck over in the neutral zone. Give me the thumbs up. I think it was Carson Kuhlman. I'd have to go back. Right. And we talked about Kuhlman, not picking on him at all, because I actually thought he, had a strong game, and he's had a strong game since coming over from the Kraken. But, fourth line got it done for the Capitals. And I thought Nick Dowd was noticeable all night long. Another guy, kind of journeyman NHLer that's been on the Capitals for the last 4 or 5 years, but he's really found a role on that fourth line, playing with Garnett Hathaway and who's it? Alexi Protas is the other guy, I believe, on that fourth line. So again, turnovers just really cost the Jets, I thought, quite a bit tonight.
And you know what, Ezzy, like, what I was going to say is that it took the Jets a little bit of time still, because at that point, 3-0, I tweeted it from the IC account. I said, well, this one's over. I mean, that's done. And I look, we haven't said that very much. There's this Jets team, and you and I always joke, whether we're in the press box, we're here at my place watching the game. We often joke, like, the Jets are down, you'll say to me, or I'll say to you, well, the Jets are coming back and winning this game. And a lot of times you have that belief because this team has shown that they can have that ability. But with the way the schedule has gone, with the way the injuries have decimated this club, a 3-0 game in the third period seems fairly insurmountable, I thought. And until, Kevin Stenlund scored his second as a member of the Winnipeg Jets at the 9-minute mark, it really didn't seem like the Jets had much of a chance to really even get back into this game. And I don't know what the shots ended up 16-7 for Winnipeg in that third period, but it was a nice example of what Kevin Stenlund does. So first of all, Kevin Stenlund was good on the faceoff circle, which is an area that's been of extreme weakness for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, and
aside from Lowry and Gustafson, Dubois, I believe,
he was terrible yesterday though.
As he 50%, he was,
but he was 0 for 10 against Bergeron yesterday. I mean, that's insane. And I don't know
and you got to tip your hat to Bergeron, right? Like one of the best two-way centers of all time. But you're right, it's pretty tough to go 0 for 10.
Yeah, and I don't think he was particularly good today either. So, I mean, face-offs, I joked about it on last night's show, I said, I think the Jets should take some time. Instead of going away on holidays, they should just go to the Iceplex and or whatever it's called now, the Hockey is for All Center.
Scotiabank Hockey for All Center.
There we go.
Lowercase.
Okay. Because the uppercase might offend someone. So anyways, so the point is that they should go there and they should just be practicing their face-offs because that has become an area of weakness. And I know there's been guys who have looked at the numbers and whether face-offs really cost you hockey games, but not having possession of the puck has, especially on power play opportunities, has really, I think, hampered the Winnipeg Jets in the last few games. And so you're seeing that. And look, Kevin Stenlund, good for him, going to the front of the net takes the Kuhlman rebound and he puts it into the net. And you're right, as he seems to be bringing in.
What was Dylan Strome doing there? Speaking of Dylan Strome, like Strome was trying to clear the puck. Like he was trying to get control of the puck there, but with 6'4" Kevin Stenlund there, I'm not sure if he was aware of that, but just questionable. But yeah, I mean, Janssen, if you want to get into that goal that made it 3-1, Dave, like Janssen Fjällby, good speed, throws the puck on net. Lindgren, who was gobbling up rebounds really nicely all game, gave up a juicy rebound.
Yeah,
and it was Kuhlman that got the first whack at it, if I'm not mistaken. And then, as we talked about, the puck's laying there, and Strome's trying to make a play, and he just isn't really hard on the puck. And then Stenlund just slaps it in, right? So
yeah,
that was a greasy goal, and that was the type of goal that they needed, right? You needed the fourth line. We talked about, that was arguably the Jets' best line tonight. I mean, Mark Scheifele clearly did not have it tonight, but you can understand that. I mean, both of his line mates, so they're kind of recycling line mates around him, and there just wasn't a lot of offensive punch.
And you know what? I actually thought that was a bit of a mistake. I actually would have given Jansen Harkins a chance up on that first line with Mark Scheifele. I think he's got better.
And he drew a penalty in the third period.
I just thought that, Carson Kuhlman, with all due respect to him, I think you could have put him on the third line with Adam Lowry, and he could have been like an energy line sort of guy. I just don't think he has the hands to be up on that first line. And I think Jansen Harkins does. And I think Jansen Harkins has a higher hockey IQ than Kuhlman. And I haven't watched Kuhlman enough to make some sort of like longstanding judgment on his career. I haven't watched enough of his games, but I've watched enough of Harkins games. And I think that Harkins is a cerebral player. And I think if you would have given him, and again, I don't want to go too far back, but like I said, I'm reminded of when Harkins had that opportunity to play alongside Blake Wheeler in the bubble against Calgary, and he scored that, playoff goal for the Jets. And I just think if you elevated him and give him a bit of an opportunity there, maybe, especially with a player like Scheifele, he could become a little bit of a complementary player and add a little bit of his intelligence, I think, to that line. Again, whether it works or doesn't work, I'm not 100% certain, but that's probably what I would have done, because I think you would have kept Kuhlman. I think we've seen from Kuhlman that he's got some good wheels. And, like I said, he's going to be hard on the forecheck, which I understand what Rick Bowness wants, someone who's going to go and get that puck for Scheifele. But I just think Harkins, we've seen Harkins we saw him last night in the game against the Bruins, beat out an icing. And we've seen it today where he, his
Charlie Hustle, right?
Well, exactly. And his work ethic is strong. So that's just my opinion. Maybe I've got a soft spot for Jansen Harkins, but I just probably would have used him up in the lineup. I think give him an opportunity.
He has more experience, Dave, in both the NHL and the AHL to rely on, right? Like Carson Kuhlman's played some games with the Bruins and the Kraken, and now the Jets, obviously. But it's something they're going to have to figure out, especially as we talked about earlier, if Cole Perfetti's out for any extended period of time, right? With games coming up against, Minnesota, and we talked about it, Edmonton, who else is in there? Vancouver, Calgary, right? Like you don't have the easiest schedule, coming up, but that's going to be something that, I'm sure we're going to be talking about, especially on the Saturday morning show. Like, what are you doing now in the top 6? Because you could possibly have 3 guys now out for a few weeks in the top 6, right? Like Blake Wheeler's not coming back until the end of January. Ehlers is not coming back until the second week of January, right?
Something like
and
that.
then the big question mark is Perfetti, right? And
Right.
it's quite possible, he's ready to go on the 27th against Minnesota, as we mentioned, but there's that unknown. So I think especially, Perfetti will throw in a new wrinkle, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jansen Harkins is a guy that, gets those minutes in the top 6.
Well, speaking of a guy in the top 6, and I noticed some people in the chat, so I'll do a quick sidebar break. Mention that Jeff Malott scored his team leading, I think, 16th goal of the season, 15th goal of the season to give the Moose a late 3-2 lead in Iowa, as he with under 5 minutes to go. The Moose looking to win their 4th game in a row.
They're red hot.
6 of the last 7. Jeff Malott is red hot. The Moose are red hot.
Red hot Malott. There you go.
Red hot Malott. Henry Nikkinen, the 2019 4th rounder, a.k.a. Mikko Koivu. Remember me saying that in 2 years, folks. And then I want you to come back to this show. And remember that IC Dave called him the next Mikko Koivu.
He is. I'll say this much. You've watched him obviously way more than I have, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can see like he's mature. Like, how old is he now? 20, 21?
21.
Like he's still very young.
Yeah.
And you can see that he's got that. I mean, he's not going to make the NHL as a he's not a Cole Perfetti.
No,
he knows that he's going to have to make this team kind of similar to a David Gustafsson.
He is very similar to David Gustafsson,
right? And I mean, not exactly the same player, but just in watching him when I've watched the Moose this year, really smart player.
Yeah, and look, we'll get into who the Jets might recall if they need to recall someone based on the injury to Cole Perfetti. Although I think that
Jeff Malott, no,
I would say as Turd is outlining, but Ezzy, we're going to save that for later.
No, it's not Turd, it's Mr. Ferguson.
Mr. Ferguson, the Turd. Okay, well, anywho, but as the one thing we should mention from the game, and we'll get into the final goal, and then we'll talk about. But what did you think about the Mark Scheifele unsportsmanlike? Because, like, I have to tell you, like,
he beat out that icing.
That's what I mean.
He absolutely beat out that icing.
And I do not care
what anyone says.
First
of all, that icing.
I don't even understand how you could again. I don't understand how 4 officials can't get together. And I understand it's too late because he's already taken the unsportsmanlike at that point because he smacked, and he's lucky he didn't hit the ref in the face with that shot. But
that was Kelly Sutherland.
Yeah.
And Kelly Sutherland, I don't know if he's the most senior official in the NHL, but he's up there. Like, Kelly Sutherland has been around for 20 plus years.
Right.
And he was not putting up with that BS. I mean, as far as the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty goes, I mean, that's just stupid. I mean, Scheifele's he's 29 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a key part. He's a star in this league. You can't do that. I mean, that's just doesn't show. I mean, look, I don't really care, but I mean, it's a penalty, and I think it's just a bad look on Scheifele. And he didn't have his best game, I thought, but there's no doubt that he won that race. That was not icing. So I'm with Scheif on that one, but you slap the puck and you almost hit Kelly Sutherland. Like, he's going to call that a 2-minute penalty every time.
Well, after Mark Scheifele wound up and took that shot at the 5-year-old kid who was playing net and went bar down on him, like, I don't think he has a problem hitting his targets. I'm going to give him credit on that one, but but you do understand the frustration, right? The Jets are feeling like they've gotten all the penalty calls against them, and I don't even understand how, looking at the angle, you would even interpret that Scheifele was less than so. I can understand the frustration, but I agree with you. Like, he's got to be able to maintain his cool. By the way, Rob has a very important question: is Poo Stain still Poo Stain, or are they Mr. Stain?
Mr. Stain. Yeah, we're going formal now. Once you've been on enough IC post game shows in the chat, then you get the official Mr. title.
Wow.
Yeah.
All
Mr.
right,
Stain, Mr. Stain, Mr. Ferguson.
All right. So they were not Mr. Turd and Mr. Mr. All right. Well,
it sounds like those books, like Mr. Grumpy, Mr. Funny.
Oh,
I got Ruben one for his birthday. It was
yeah.
I love to tickle Ruben. So he's very ticklish. So I got a Mr. Ticklish or Mr. Tickle, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Great books.
That was all right. There we go. But anyways, and the game ends with Alex Ovechkin getting his 802nd, of course, passing Gordie Howe. And nice message from Mark Howe, son of Gordie Howe, talking about the achievement. And then, of course, the players all mobbed him. And I mean, it's a little unusual. Like, I was a little surprised that they went as long as they did with the, like, even playing the video when they did. Like, I mean,
I
I wonder
agree.
if, I
You
wonder,
usually don't see that. Like, and the thing is, he didn't break Gretzky's record.
that's what I mean.
He just passed Gordie Howe. But
Like,
apparently the Howe family had been at certain games of the Capitals. I can't tell you which ones. I don't know if they were in Washington for tonight's game. I doubt that they were at the game in Ottawa, but maybe they were. I'm not sure like which members of the Howe family and where
Right.
they live. But the point is, like, they have been following this, including attending games, right, Dave?
Yeah.
But you're right. That was a little bit like, it was nice. And by the way, I remember my dad always telling me, like, Mark Howe, everybody knows Mark Howe is Gordie Howe's son.
Yeah.
Mark Howe was a really good player. I actually I have his book. It's called Gordie's Son. I believe it's called Gordie's Son. I should know. I own the book, but I remember reading it and like.
Funny,
Mark
I just finished writing a book called Gary's Son.
It's funny, Gary M. I might be mistaken, but I believe Mark Howe is also in the Hall of Fame.
He might be.
So
I think
he is a very good defenseman. So he was not just the son of Gordie Howe, a decent NHL player. He was a really good player. So I just always remember my dad telling me how good Mark was. He wasn't that far off, and of course he ended up playing with Mark and Marty for the New England Whalers, Dave, if I'm not mistaken, in the WHA when they all played together.
So. Yeah.
And then, as you know, Gordie Howe played for the Detroit Vipers. When he was in his 70s, right? So Gordie's he's Mr. Hockey, period. I mean, there's nothing else beside that. He's a legend. So that was cool. But yeah, it was a little bit weird that it happened in the third period. It was also weird that Ovechkin looked like he didn't right before that. He hit the post.
He passed. Well, no, he also passed.
And then he passed it, and I think who was it? It was Kuznetsov. And then Kuznetsov had a clear shot at the net, and then he circled back and was looking for Ovechkin. So yeah, I mean, 802. I mean, the big one though is 894. We know that.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, that's the end of the game. The Jets fall to 21-12-1 on the season, and they get a much needed break because
Mark Howe is in the Hall of Fame, by the way.
Yeah, I said that. I agreed with you. I
thought like that just shows you how good he is, right? Like I just, there's probably, we have a lot of fans there. Pardon me, a lot of I see, fans right now watching that know that, but some people might not know.
No, that's fair. It's always good to
provide. Really, really good defenseman. Just look at his career stats. Like,
yeah, really, I mean, it's always good. It's always good to give information on the show that's accurate, Ezzy. Fair and balanced and accurate. That's all about. That's the IC.
Just call me Daniel Dale.
Anyways, more importantly, though, Moose 4-2 lead now in Iowa as they look to bring it home, fourth win in a row.
Moose are loose, Dave.
The Moose are loose. Cole Meyer, I think, was the goal scorer on that one. I don't know. I just got an alert. We'll see. Let me just check the ticker. Oh, it's 4-3.
Do you get an alert from Zinger, or do you get an alert from like the AHL, or does Zinger just like have you on blast?
Yeah, Zinger's like, Manuk, they scored. I'm like, stop. I'm like, Zinger, I'm trying to do the post game show. It's like, well, stop doing the post game show. It's the Moose. They're playing right now. So 4-3. Your boy Dakota M. Remus, which I always laugh at that name, but he scored with.
You mean Dakota Mermis?
Yeah, exactly. But he scored with 31 seconds. By the way, I will give the Jets credit for that. I don't know if you saw that pronunciation video they put out with all the players' names. So like they just put out a video with all the players' names and basically said like, and they're like, the funniest was like all the very easy ones, like Adam Lowry. So instead of actually having him say it, they would just be like, bing, bing, bing. They'd play him like a play with Paulie Edmonds or something like that. The best though was, so for Kyle Capobianco, I guess, I think it was Hunter Ryan Singh might have called him Kevin Capobianco in one of the Sportsnet games. So they played Kevin
Capobianco is a great Italian name.
Oh yeah, it's an amazing name.
It's a great name. Great last name.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Kyle either.
Kyle's a good one, as is Kevin.
Yep.
As would Kevin Stedland, would agree with that. Anyways, so they did a nice little video, had a little fun with it, and we're just waiting to see the final results. Is the Moose game over, folks? I don't know. Yes, it is over. The Moose have in fact won. So the Moose are loose, and they're feeling good about themselves heading into the break, which is impressive because
are they back home, Dave, to start after the Christmas break? Are they back home or are they on the road?
Yes. No, they're home for, I'm going to look right now. They're home for 2 games against Abbotsford, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, 2 games against Abbotsford on the 30th and the 31st. Come spend your New Year's Eve, which starts at 4:00 with moi.
The day before New Year's.
The day before New Year's at 4:00. And they're playing 2 games, next week against Abbotsford.
New Year's morn.
And the 30th and 31st. Then they go on the road They go on the road for actually a bit for 6 games. So then they'll be so just 2 Moose games. We've got tickets to give away. So look for that coming up next week when we're back on the air. Let's head to a commercial break, Ez, and then we'll get back into the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment, and we'll give away some IC merch, or not IC merch, but we'll give away some merch courtesy of the IC contest. Thanks a lot for listening and joining us on this Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm Dave Minuk. That's Ezzy Ginsburg, and these are the Illegal Curve commercials. Enjoy.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40. You're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve postgame show. Minuk and Ginsburg. We're rolling along as the game is over. The game recap that was brought to you by our friends at Betway, and we want to give a big thanks to our friends at Betway because they brought us the game recap. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. So head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play, Ezzy. Please play responsibly.
Always.
You always do, as we know you're very responsible in all aspects of life. So folks enjoyed our commercials. We tried to make them good for you. I know that it's amazing. I think Rob Mahoney said about an hour before just now said, do we still have to wait an hour before we get to see these commercials? I mean, I don't even know if people want to be part of the show. As I think once they're done watching the commercials, they take off.
It's like the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Like the Super Bowl is the one sporting event where you actually look forward to the commercials. Like nobody really looks forward to the commercials during a regular season or even a playoff hockey game, right? But at the Super Bowl, they're going to bring out the goods.
You are right, Ez. So I'm going to go back and get the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. It could take me a while to get back there, though, as he picked one from like hours ago. There's lots of comments. We have lots of comments.
When I see a good comment at the beginning of the show,
I know.
I star it.
Yeah.
And,
I give you credit.
Get it going.
I got to go back and get it, though. I wish you would have given me a little heads up, 25 minutes ago, so I could have at least been ready for you. But you didn't, so I'm working my way to get back there. Working. What's going on here? Why is this not working?
Can we, while you're looking for the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment, Dave?
Yeah.
Hopefully John Carlson's okay. By the way,
that was
scary.
That was
I don't know if you or anybody watching the show right now will get it. Maybe get some comments in the chat here. I thought of Brian Little. That's what was going through my mind. Or remember back in the day, Stevie Yzerman. So when he got the puck in the eye, or you remember Brian Berard, right? I forget if that was a puck or a stick, but regardless, Berard got
a stick in the eye.
It was the stick, so that affected his vision. But it was definitely Brian Little was going through my mind.
Yeah.
So, hopefully John Carlson's okay, because, he obviously left the game and that was scary because that was, his former teammate, Brendan Dillon. And you can tell Dillon, Dave, he was affected by that. Hockey players hate that, right? Like you never want a guy to take your shot there. But I thought you might have thought this as well, Dave, or some people in the chat. It did look like it wasn't directly at the eye. Like it looked like it was the side of the head. Like obviously there was blood, right? So that's what you don't want. You don't want it to be anywhere close to the eye.
Right.
But regardless, I mean, you just don't want to see that. That's a hard slap shot from Dillon. And that wasn't tipped. That was directly up in
straight on. Yeah.
In his head. And there you could see the blood. So hopefully just wanted to get that in there. Hopefully John Carlson's going to be okay. I'm sure he will be.
Well, let's, the only thing we want to see hard hitting is the hard hitting comments for the Tough Duck. So Ezzy, you gave it to Kim Sawchuk. Give us the reason why.
Yeah, we'll give it to Kim. I've seen Kim in the chat many times before. I like this comment. As you mentioned, it was from earlier in the show. There's a difference between an excuse and an explanation for a loss. Too many injuries, rough schedule makes for a less than stellar performance, but appreciated that final goal. I think Kim is obviously talking about Kevin Stenlund's goal. She's not talking about Ovechkin's empty netter there. So yeah, I like that comment from Kim. And I agree. I mean, a lot of teams are dealing, like we didn't even talk about, like Washington, Dave, is still without Nicholas Backstrom. They're still without Tom Wilson.
Yeah.
And they're still without, who am I forgetting? Connor Brown, who's a big pickup for them. So those are three key players, especially when you're talking about, Backstrom, who's their number 2 center, and you're talking about Tom Wilson, who often plays, with Kuznetsov and Ovechkin. So Washington's got injuries too. So you don't want to use that as an excuse. But anybody who watched that game, even if you are the most diehard optimistic Jets fan, I mean, you could see that, the boys were tired and they're ready for the Christmas break. So Kim, great comment. Love it. Send me an email, Ezra, EZRA, at illegalcurve.com, or you can slide into my DMs on Twitter at ICSEG, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you. It won't happen until after the Christmas break, but you can still send me an email with your mailing address, and then you will receive a Tough Duck toque in the mail.
And Ezzy Bailey, our intern, she mentioned, don't forget TJ Oshie.
TJ Oshie of War Road.
Yes. I think, unfortunately, TJ Oshie is spending a lot of his time right now working on his clothing line, not so much on the ice.
I have a War Road shirt. Picked it up at a UND game.
Someone's doing well.
Yeah. You see Josh Morrissey wearing it. You see Pierre wearing
he always wears it. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, it's time to declare a winner, and I can confidently say nobody guessed the unique code word of the day. Now, people were giving me the gears as I was chatting before the game in the chat, and they were saying, well, first of all, they were reminding me that I hadn't changed it. So everyone was kept trying to enter it. And it turned out they were entering the old word because I hadn't actually updated it. So that was a problem. Then I hadn't put it, then I'm like, yeah, it's done now, but I only updated it on our program here, as not actually in our program that people enter. So they couldn't become winners because there wasn't a unique code word. And again, like I said, the usual cast of characters trying to guess it. begging me for clues.
I love that
didn't-
people try to guess it, by the way. That's awesome.
I do too. I enjoy that. I actually think that's why I'm challenged. That's why, when you and Drew were making fun of me, talking about how easy my code words
Well,
were.
no. I wasn't. It was because you called it a secret word earlier.
Yes.
And I like that you've changed it to unique, even though
Yes.
you might want to change it to obscure because some of the references, but that's good. You're also educating people, right?
Well, that's why this one is going to be educational, as it's not going to be obvious. People were trying, they were hoping, but that wasn't what you were going to get today, folks. So today, the unique code word of the game. And for the record, I was not a Grinch. I was Hanukkah Harry today, Ezzy. You know why? Because I didn't make it worth 5 points. I didn't make it worth 10 points. I didn't make it worth 15 points, which Kenny's water bottle asked me to do. I made today's unique code word. If you're willing to stick with us, 5 games in 7 days, and watch a couple of, a stinker
the day
like
before
that,
Christmas morning.
So if you're willing to do that, this entry is worth 20 points. 20
That's huge.
points. So you got 20 points if you stuck with us. I should only make it live for like 10 minutes and then just end it, because that way I know the people who watch the show, those are the true ones, not the people,
disappearing unique word.
Although I don't want, the people who listen to the podcast, they're entitled to it as well. So let's roll through it. As the unique code word is 51st state. That's right. 51 ST state, STATE. Now, if you're thinking to yourself,
is that because the District of Columbia isn't technically a state?
That is because the District of Columbia is not technically a state, even though Congress has voted to make them a 51st state. The problem is the Senate has not ratified that. So as a result, it's not likely to pass, but the people in Columbus, in the District of Columbus, because it is more populous than like 2 or 3 of the actual states that
isn't
represented.
DC, DC have like 1 million people?
Oh no, it's more. It's bigger than that. It's massive.
What's the state? What's the state beside DC? Is it Virginia or Pennsylvania?
Yeah, Virginia.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I went. I've been to DC a couple times actually. It's very pretty, very nice city.
No big deal.
Lot of museums.
I've always wanted to visit DC. I mean, it is
cool. I will say,
not just for the White House and the Capitol Hill and everything like that. I mean,
the White House, just, to be honest, you go to the White House, there's a bunch of nuts out there.
It's just a big house.
Yeah, I'm like, our friend Rich has a White House. I mean, that's not that big a deal.
And the thing is, you also see it. It's so iconic that you see the White House literally on TV every single day, right? Like, especially if you watch like CNN or some of the, those or Fox News or C-SPAN or whatever, right? Like they're constantly showing the White House. So it's like when you see it, you're like, oh, okay, I've seen this building 10,000 times in my life. But
yes. Well, anywho, so the point is that the house is white, but there are like I said, it's a remarkable city. Some of the museums are incredible, and they're all I think they're all free, so you can just kind of walk in. What's it called? There's too many to mention. Like the air and space one is phenomenal. The Holocaust Museum is there.
Holocaust was the one I was going to say I obviously would visit if I was there.
Yeah, it's pretty depressing actually, but it's worth.
It's important though.
I was going to say it is. You go in there and you're very depressed after, but like it's a good thing to pay attention to. Let's put it that way. It's one of those things that you need to remember the history, because it can repeat itself if we don't pay attention to things like that. And a lot of them, even like the natural history. That was what I was trying to remember. Natural history is very cool. So they've got some cool.
I'm more of an artificial history type of guy, Dave. But
I agree with you, Ezzy. I agree. Anywho, but we got to give a winner. So there is a winner, and I was hoping it'd be Rob Mahoney. I wanted Rob. If I could
Rob need to stop this bromance, Dave. Like, this is getting out of control.
I'm pretty sure Rob's actually a big Drew fan, actually. But I like Rob because
nobody's a Drew fan.
There is actually no, that's not true, Ezzy. I was very disappointed, actually. I don't know who. I can't remember. See, I've already repressed the memory, so I don't remember who it was yesterday who was saying I was actually their 5th favorite media member in the city, or maybe I was their 3rd. But Drew was their 1st. I can't remember who it was, but it was very depressing. So
5th.
What?
5th. I wonder where I was on those rankings. Maybe I just get like a participation ribbon.
Sorry, I should have muted myself.
Have some water. That's why I've got my water here, Dave.
I know. So Rob Mahoney Rob, if I could put my thumb on the scale and make you the winner, I would. But that's why you just got to keep entering. Oh, prime timer. See, Prime Timer used to hold on. Prime Timer says they're now an Icy Dave fan. Used to be an Icy Drew guy. So Drew, Drew. Some people like Drew's curmudgeonly nature and his like kind of his style.
When
not
are
for
the
me.
Icy Hunger Games going to start?
Well, Ezzy, it is Festivus. It is, and believe me, we're
Yeah.
gonna air our grievances about Mandel.
We're not going to end this show until somebody gets pinned.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna air our grievances about Mandel in about 2 minutes. But first, let's give away that IC contest gear, authentic Jets gear. The winner is Brian Harder.
Nice.
Brian Harder, I believe, of Steinbach. So Brian is
Nice.
the winner of
Worth the trip.
It is worth. Well,
Do
it'll
they
be
still
worth.
say that, by the way?
Like,
is that still part of the marketing campaign of Steinbach to
I
say
don't
it's
know,
worth
actually.
the trip? Because they have a lot of car dealerships, right?
They do have a lot, but there's a lot of car dealerships in Winnipeg too. So
Yeah.
I'm not entirely certain.
But that used to be the thing that I think that there was like you would get a better deal in Steinbach. I'm not sure why, but I remember that used to be a thing.
No, that's well, of course, because remember they had to entice you to drive 45 minutes outside the city to go to Steinbach. So
45 minutes because that's so long. Like people in Winnipeg like complain about driving from the south end to the north end. It's ridiculous. Like have you ever driven in Toronto or Montreal? Like if you work downtown and you need to get home, it takes like 2 hours to get home. But in Winnipeg, people are complaining about I have to drive to Transcona. It's like 25 minutes.
Frosty Winnipeg thinks the slogan of Steinbach now is "We have booze finally."
That's funny. That's funny.
And Kenny's water bottle says airing of grievances was earlier. The show will end with feats of strength.
We have alcohol finally. That's amazing.
Bailey Weeb has 302 entries. Well, Bailey, good luck to you and to everyone. And just a reminder, if you want to enter the contest, I always put it in the pregame report. I also put it in the morning papers in the notes, note 2 usually, and you can always just click on that in the afternoon links. And there's always an entry that you can just follow there and enter your email, your name, and your age. And then all you have to do is follow along. And like I said, whether it's entering the unique code word, retweeting us on Twitter, going to our TikTok, maybe following us on TikTok, hint, hint, subscribing here on YouTube, leaving a comment on our podcast, hint, hint. Then if you just do those things, folks, you too can gain lots of entries in the contest. And remember, it's not just authentic. We've got jerseys, we've got hats, we've got shirts, but now we've also got the grand prize, which is a pair of tickets to any NHL game of your choice next month. So if you win in December, you get to a game of your choice in January, and then in January you'll have a choice of a game in February. And blah,
that doesn't
blah, blah.
include airfare, by the way. A few people have asked you, I know, Dave, about airfare. We're hooking people up with NHL tickets.
Yes.
We do not work for Sunwing. We don't work for WestJet. We're not going to. We don't. Our budget isn't that big that we're going to be able to hook people up with airfare. I wish that was the case. But
Brian's in the chat. This is great, Brian.
Awesome.
Well, let's just sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm glad Brian's here.
Merry Christmas, Ryan. Brian, what better early Christmas present than getting some Jets merchandise?
Well, the only problem is he's not getting it before Christmas because unfortunately Dave M is done for the day. But
I give Brian some stocking stuffers. Like maybe we can give Brian like an icy puck.
I got bad news for you. I got like a stack of delivery. I saw Doug is in the chat. I still owe him Spencer Sutton. I owe Frosty. I owe Kenny. I got a lot of people I got to make deliveries for. That's going to be a between Christmas and New Year's situation, folks, where Dave M clears out. I got Phyllis. I got so many. Lisa. There's so many people in the chat that I still have to get all their gear to. So don't worry, folks.
See, you're good at announcing the winners, but then you have to deliver to the winners.
Yes.
Well, we're going to get it to everybody. We're going to get,
the
weather has been, the roads have been terrible. I almost got stuck actually backing out of my kids' daycare today. So it's not, it's a little bit better and it's much worse in other places, but so we got to give Dave, Dave is, covering the Moose. He's covering the Jets. He's covering the ice. He's running the contest. So just give Dave a little bit of time, but you will get your merch sometime in the next week or so.
Well, Ezzy, that's almost like it was an invitation to do something. Hold on a second. 1 second. Uno momento por favor. Are you suggesting it's time for...
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I was actually going to text Daniel Fink and see if he wanted to come on and break down the Moose game for us. I thought that'd be hilarious if all of a sudden Dan jumped on with us and started doing the a long, not just a regular Moose Minute. And I know, Ezzy, we can't do too long. You got to get up early. So we're going to try and cut this relatively short.
And then when you texted Dan, he responded, how did you get this
number? Anyways, over in Iowa, the Moose were loose and ready to take on the Iowa Wild in their division, of course, division rival. And it was a 0-0 game after one period of play. And then Andre Schuster, as he got the goals. The game started 1-0 early in the second period on a assist from Nick Patan. Made it 1-0 for the Wild just a minute in. And then Leon Gavanke, the 2017 fifth rounder, he scored on the power play to tie the game 1-1 about 5 minutes later. And then 22 seconds later, Ty Ronning, son of Cliff Ronning, and he also wears number 77, he scored to regain the lead to make it 2-1. And then about 4 minutes later, the 2019 fourth rounder, who, as I've been talking about, and I want people to pay attention to, Henri Nikkanen, scored a beauty. I'm going to have it on the Illegal Curve.
No
Instagram.
relation to Esa Tikkanen.
No relation, because their names are not the same, but no relation. As good point by you. I'll have that. It's going to be on the Illegal Curve Instagram if you want to watch it, or my IC Dave account. That one's already posted. So it went 2-2 into the third period, and then no scoring through the first 14 minutes and 45 seconds. And then Jeff Malott, another power play goal for the Moose. Power play has been hot. Jeff Malott's been hot. His team-leading 15th goal of the season. Declan Chisholm had his third assist of the game. And so he's actually been really good of late in terms of the assists. And then about 4 minutes later, alternate captain Cole Meyer, he's also been pretty hot. He scored into an empty net to make it 4-2. And the Wild got within one late with the goalie pull to make it a 4-3 game. But the Moose would hold on and win. And now they're 15-7-2-1 on the season. They're sitting second in the Central, and they're feeling good about themselves, having won 4 straight games. So the Moose are loose. They're feeling good despite all the guys they've lost. Chaz Lucius, Brad Lambert are out at the World Juniors. Obviously, Rutger McGorty and Fabian Wagner, those guys. There's 4 Jets prospects who are playing in the World Junior Tournament, which gets started. I know there's pre-tournament games right now. They're getting started on Boxing Day. But the Moose are able to get it done, and they're feeling good about themselves heading into the holiday.
And all the guys that are up with the Jets right now, right? Like talked about Michael Esimont, Kevin Stenlund, Ville Heinola. Who am I missing here? Jansen Harkins, I guess, if you want to throw Jansen Harkins in there, right? Because he played some games with the Moose, right? It's incredible. You had Arvid Holm called up briefly, right? To back up David Riddick, right? So it's really incredible. I mean, you've talked about it, going back to last year, Dave. Like, this Moose team is I don't know, would you call them a top 5 team in the AHL? I don't think that's a stretch. They're certainly a top 10 team. They're an upper echelon team. Let's put it that way, right? And the fact that you lose this many guys and you persevere, and look, it's the American Hockey League, so they're not the only team, that has guys called up to the NHL or guys playing at the World Juniors, stuff like that, right? But I think it's a testament to Mark Morrison and the coaching staff and the depth of this team, right? Like you mentioned, Alex Limoges is a guy that, most Jets fans had not heard of. Right. And Jeff Malott, going back to what we said earlier, 15th goal, as you mentioned, of the season, right, Dave? 15th or 16th? 15th. So you wonder if he's the guy, if Cole Perfetti is out, or regardless if Cole Perfetti is out, you wonder, if he's going to be the next guy up. And he should be, especially, for a Jets team that's starving a little bit offensively right now, right? With Ehlers out and Wheeler out and Perfetti out tonight. So, great to see. I know that, you've developed a good relationship with Jeff Malott, and you've had a chance to, post some interviews with him on the website, and you did an awesome job with that. So Malott's a guy, I think, that you love those stories, an undrafted guy, went to college, and, he's made the most of his opportunities. He's turned into, one of the best Moose players in his short, AHL career. So I definitely think that, he's going to get a call up eventually. It's just a matter of time. Yeah,
and you're 100% right, Ez. And I think he is the kind of guy who you want to, like, the Jets need. He's a guy he's a big body, 6'4", 6'5". He goes right to the dirty areas. That's where he scores almost all of his goals for the Moose. And he plays big. Like, he's not overly physical. He's not like a tough guy. Like, I wouldn't say he's like a Lowry type, but he's not afraid to be in the dirty areas and creating chaos in front of the net. So yeah, Jeff Malott is likely, if the Jets have to go to the farm club and make a recall. And the benefit, of course, is the Moose, again, don't play until the 30th, which of course is a week tonight. So they don't play again until Friday, Saturday. And so if the Jets do need someone for a few games.
Yeah, you're not taking anybody away from any regular season games, right?
That's right. Exactly. So it's a bit of a benefit for the Jets, and it's a good thing overall for the Moose, because you want the guys. I mean, again, consistency is one of the hardest things in the American Hockey League. And I'll never forget that 2017-18 was it 17-18 team was the best Moose team I've ever seen. Like, they were the most talented team by far. It was unbelievable. Michael Hutchinson was excellent. You had Jack Roslovic, you had Mason Appleton. All these guys were unbelievable. Sami Niku, like, the team was really good, but they lost a lot of players up to the Jets. And so, like, as soon as they did, they lost Hutchinson and they lost Roslovic, and the team it wasn't that they went down like terrible, but they went from like being like a 700-800 team to like a 500 team. And it was like, it was obvious. And that's just the unfortunate
You're
part
not seeing that anymore, right? Like, you're not seeing that whether it's Michael Esimont, whether it's Jansen Harkins getting the call up. We talked about Kevin Stenlund. Like, I don't think, a lot of people thought Kevin Stenlund would be in this position, because he was a guy that didn't really impress a lot of people during training camp.
No, he didn't at all.
It was Saku Manalainen who took that spot, right? It was between really Manalainen and Stenlund and a few other players. But it shows you, I mean, pro scouting, I mean, the True North organization does a great job of bringing in guys that, you haven't really heard of, and they end up, there's a reason why they're in this business, right?
Yeah.
And so they find guys, whether it's coming out of college, like another guy I know that you've really liked is Wyatt Bongiovanni, right? Another guy coming out of college. I mean, it's impressive, right? Like, and so you lose a couple players, and there's enough depth in the organization that you keep winning.
That's right. Exactly. So, well, Ezzy, we've made a go of it. We've gone quite long on tonight's post game show, and so, but it is Frosty. Why are you not queuing it up? We appreciate Tico and Apolli telling anybody. Tico and I'm sorry, there was no Tyrell Bauer highlights to talk about, as far as I could tell. Now, of course,
Paulie's just waiting for the IC and Transcona show. It needs to happen.
Well, we're going to be doing. I mean, let's be realistic, guys. And now that it's just Ezzy and I mean, we can talk about what we're going to do, but there's going to be an IC live show. I mean, we did one at the fishing show, and that was a lot of fun, the ice fishing show. We're going to try and do an Illegal Curve show live from an ice fishing shack sometime this winter.
I'm looking forward to that, because Dave, I've never ice fished. I believe you have several times, right?
Yeah.
So if we can combine hockey talk and ice fishing, I mean,
exactly. Special guest Dustin Bufflin. I mean, it'll be amazing. So we will see. But like I said, it's been a lot of fun doing the pre-Christmas rush with everybody, and we want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, any other holidays that you happen to be spending.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa, and just embrace your loved ones, enjoy your time with them, enjoy your time with your friends, your family, your opportunity to relax, and we hope everyone has a nice holiday, because we love doing the show with the chat, and Ezzy and I say this every single time, whether it's just the two of us talking or when we're saying it to the chat directly. But I mean, it's amazing how many people ask me about, the difference between being on radio and this. And I said, I feel bad saying it, but it's not even like the best thing that ever happened to us was TSN going kaput, because it's made our interaction with people so much more significant than it ever would have been than the way it was. So we
only got this type of interaction when we took phone calls, and we didn't take phone calls that often. We would take phone calls like once every 2 months, once every 3 months, even longer, Dave. So you're absolutely right. We love the chat. We love you guys. We love your participation, sticking with us, even though the Jets lost this game tonight. And I echo what Dave M said. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah to everybody. And we'll be back next week, but we appreciate everybody. Stay safe and have an excellent break.
But before we go, of course, Ezzy, we've got to thank all the sponsors. Now, Frosty's done a good job of putting it on the board, but I will say a big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. They are Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway. They're the sponsors of the official title sponsor of this show, Bernstein's Deli, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and Grid Park. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. So I'm out of breath, but you know what? It's been a good one. We've had a good time. We're getting a chance. And the reality is, like I said, I wish we were doing a Saturday show. I very seriously considered doing a breakaway Dave M experience type thing. I know the people are still clamoring for it but I if Ezzy, my main man, was here, we'd do it. I wouldn't.
We'd
even think
absolutely do it.
You know, we were ride or die
The
together,
Ginsbergs
you know?
are going to have to get up early. We're lucky enough that we're going to go somewhere hot this year. So I haven't been on a plane in almost 3 years, so I don't really know what I'm doing. I had to dust off the passport. But yeah, we're going on a family trip with the little ones.
Wish
And
you nothing but a
we'll
good
be
time,
back.
Ez.
We'll be back New Year's Eve, and I will be doing that post game show with you, Dave. And it's going to be Jets versus Oilers. So
Yes.
that's when we'll be back.
That's
next
right.
year, in just over a week.
So it'll be actually, I guess I better be nice to Drew because it's just gonna be Drew and I for the next couple of shows after this. So anyways, thanks to everyone for joining us on tonight's show throughout the course of this year. And like I said, smash that like button. Have a safe and happy and healthy holidays from all of us at Illegal Curve. We wish you nothing but the best. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on the program.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.